Welcome to Couch Quarterbacks. What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Couch Quarterbacks podcast. I'm Andrew Roachford, and with me, as always, is Ben Steinberg. How you doing today, Stein?
I'm doing good, Roach. You know why I'm doing good? Because we were perfect on our predictions last night, both of us.
Hey, it wasn't that tough of a prediction to
Yeah,
make,
that's
so.
true. That's true. It was fun to predict that one, though, because this is kind of that one that, you know, they need to throw us a bone every once in a while.
It's a typical, Thursday night game. Like, when you have your primetime games, Thursday night is, of course, always the easiest one, and then hopefully you get better Sunday and Monday night games. But we will be recapping in this episode the Thursday night game, of course, talking about the Christian McCaffrey injury, and then we'll get into the rest of the games on Sunday and Monday as we start off week 3. So without further ado, Stein, let's hop right into it. Like you mentioned, Panthers, Texans last night. The Panthers stay undefeated, 3-0 on the season. First time they started out 3-0 since their Super Bowl appearance back in 2015.
Yeah, great to see. You know, like, it's funny because if the Bucs and the Saints, like, I honestly hate, but the Panthers, it's like not a terrible team to like really.
There's really no one that you can dislike on the Panthers.
Yeah, even McCaffrey, who some people call kind of douchey a little bit. I still like McCaffrey. You know, but just everyone, you know, the quarterback's cool. Like, Darnold's awesome. He could be a great story this year, you know, and it's just, he's been playing great. You know, didn't have any passing touchdowns, but was looking really good on the ground yesterday, which is funny, you know, the fact that he's not really much of a runner. But, you know, it just goes to show that, you know, when you have the right coach, I think Joe Brady and Matt Rule are a great combo. I don't know if Brady will be staying there. You know, we could see him moving on. Could
be a very hot target this upcoming offseason. But, of course, besides the Panthers winning this ball game, the big headline from the game, Christian McCaffrey injuring his hamstring in the second quarter. If you go back and watch the film of the play, you can kind of see, like, his leg twinge, like the almost kind of like the not as severe with the KD with the Achilles pop back a couple of years ago, but a big injury and a big loss for this Panthers team. Looks like he's going to be out at least a couple weeks from the initial testing. They said right now they're probably going to keep him off the IR, so that would hypothetically mean it's less than a 3-week recovery, which is probably a best case scenario for him.
I mean, fantasy wise, this is a huge hit for a lot of fantasy owners. But, you know, I think what they're going to do is just play everything safe coming off of last year. You know,
missing 13 games last season.
They're riding some momentum, so it's not like they're in desperate need of him. You know, and in the first 3 games, I mean, yeah, he's been a factor, but he really hasn't had that many touchdowns, you know.
I mean, touchdown-wise, he hasn't been much, but, like, in the first game, he was their leading receiver.
He had, like 9 receptions.
He's still Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
so.
But it's not like, you know, he's their main touchdown driving. They can score touchdowns without him, I should say. You know?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing, though, is just not having his presence out there on the field, you know. Sam Darnold on the first touchdown he had was on a read option where everyone's focused on Christian McCaffrey.
That's the best part about him is, and the sad fact is, behind him, Chuba Hubbard is not, like, he's probably not one of the better backup running backs. I mean, he's fine, but he's not like...
I mean, he's a rookie, so
you know?
So very limited professional experience. Did get most of the carries last night. They do have Royce Freeman, who they picked up right before the season started off waivers from Denver, but they're saying right now that Hubbard is probably going to be the lead back for the next couple weeks, so he's definitely going to be the top guy on the waiver wires going into week 4 in terms of waiver pickups.
Yeah. So let's talk about this Panthers defense, which was really, we've been saying, it's underrated. I mean, they got some players. Jeremy Chin is a really good guy in the secondary. J.C. Horn, the rookie, unfortunately did go down with an injury.
Yeah, and a non-contact injury, which is never good, but they announced that it's a broken foot, probably 2 to 3 month recovery. Luckily not an Achilles injury like they initially thought, but like I said, those non-contact injuries are always scary. So he'll be on the IR, should be able to return later on in the season, but that's a big loss for their top 10 draft pick from this past draft.
The first defensive player off the board. Mm-hmm. And your boy Brian Burns, 4 sacks for the Panthers, getting after the quarterback.
Yeah, Davis Mills, especially towards the end of the game when it was kind of out of hand, that was when the Panthers defense really stepped up, and he was taking some big hits, and they were even mentioning on the broadcast, they're like, like, man, I don't know how he's getting up from some of these hits, as he was just getting like squared up towards the end of that ball game.
Yeah, honestly, if you're in need of a defense for fantasy wise, Panthers defense could be a pickup that a lot of people probably don't have.
That's what I picked him up in a couple leagues this week just to stream. This past week they got 11 or 12 points for their defense.
I mean, maybe when they play the Bucs, maybe avoid that. I know they've had some weak opponents. People will say they played the Jets, they played the Texans, and I forgot who they played last week.
That's the two teams. Well, Jets and Texans, and then they played the Saints last week.
The Saints last week. So I guess overall 3 weaker teams.
They do travel to Dallas next week to play the Cowboys.
So that'll be their first kind of real test. Mm-hmm. That's we can say if they're going to be legit or not. Let's talk about the Texans. Davis Mills probably did everything what everyone expected.
Yeah, there's not much to say about him. I mean, he didn't have any turnovers, which was probably the bright spot in the game. 168 yards passing, 112 of those went to Brandon Cooks, which it's still crazy to me how productive he can be just with whoever they throw out there at quarterback, whether it be Tyrod Taylor or Davis Mills. He's still able to just eat up receptions, be the focal point of the offense for this Texans team, even without Deshaun Watson. So
yeah, I mean, he was just doing everything. And, for a PPR league, this is the guy that you would really want to look at right now.
Yeah, I mean, not really much else to talk about with the Texans. When McCaffrey went down, they kind of hung around in this ball game. It was 7-6.
Yeah, at one point in the third quarter.
Yeah, at one point in the ball game, but the Texans really weren't in it, and you can especially tell by the final score. Yeah. But the Texans next week have another tough test. They got to travel to Buffalo, face off against the Bills.
And I feel bad if you started any of those Texans running backs because nobody had more than 21 yards.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, Texans running backs didn't do anything. Anthony Miller, first action for the Texans, did catch a touchdown, but really besides that, nothing notable from the Texans. Everyone's takeaway from this game was the Christian McCaffrey injury.
Yes. All right, moving on. Are we going to do the punishment or are we going to go into week 3?
Oh, man. I wish we could skip this part, but I guess we'll do the punishment right now. So, Stein with an amazing week last week, 12-4.
I know. I can make the playoffs with that. First seed.
I still had a decent week at 10-6, but Stein won those head-to-head matchups, which were very key.
Yeah, I just had those random ones that I know the Jags won. That was just your worst pick of the year.
Yeah, I still am questioning why I picked the Jaguars. And when I look at some of these picks going into this week, there's one or two, and I went back and I was like, do I really want this team to win this game? But anyways, let's spin the wheel right now, see what we end up getting. All
right, I'll say we have the mystery shot.
Mystery shot. Okay, so Stein, you can plan a little concoction for me to drink, and I'll post that in the video right here.
All
right, so week 2 punishment, Stein. You got my mystery shot ready, which has a very interesting smell to it. I can't really put my finger on what it is.
Are you driving today?
Oh god. All right, let's take a sip and see. Oh, what is that?
It is coffee creamer, Smirnoff Ice, maple syrup, and green tea.
Oh, jeez. I can taste the Smirnoff Ice. Luckily, is the strongest thing. What's that? The
base.
American one,
yeah, the red, white, and blue. Yeah.
That's definitely the strongest thing in here. Luckily, there's maple syrup in here.
Yeah.
All right. Luckily, I can't taste any of that. I can taste a little bit of the green tea. And what was the last one? The coffee creamer?
Yeah.
That's why it's like a milky substance to it. So
that gives it its texture.
Well, thank you, Stein. This wasn't the worst thing in the world, actually. So
I made it sweet. You know, there was ketchup, there was honey mustard, there was ranch.
Well, that's what I was expecting. So
yeah, no, I'm a nice guy.
Anyways, guys, we'll bring it now back to us with our week 3 preview. Hope you guys enjoyed me drinking that little mystery shot right there. It was most likely disgusting. This is past me talking to future me, talking to past me. We're breaking the fourth wall.
My mind's not into that right now.
But anyways, that was the week 2 punishment right there. We'll go into week 3. We have 4 games different once again tonight. We've had 4 games different every single week so far.
I know. I was picking chalk for a while, and then I was like, I have a feeling about some of these teams. So we have 4 games different again. So this could come down to the wire, as it has, which has been interesting.
I think our last game different is during the 8 o'clock game. So we'll know after Sunday night Yeah, because we both have the Cowboys winning. A little sneak peek from that, but
yeah.
So it'll come down to Sunday night is when we'll figure out who ended up losing this week, or maybe we have a time. We have our first coin flip of the season.
Ooh, flip a coin. And as we go on, we'll take the punishments that we've done. So my TikTok, Roach's mystery shot, and then we'll replace them with some other punishments that we'll think of. This stuff is just off the cusp. We might have, I don't even know.
We'll add some more stuff throughout the season because, of course, the list will get smaller and smaller as we keep doing them. But anyways, let's hop into this Week 3 slate, and in the 1 o'clock window, the first game that we'll talk about is the 0-2 Colts looking for their first win of the season, traveling to Tennessee to face off against the Titans, coming off a big victory in overtime against the Seahawks.
Yeah, divisional matchup at the Titans. It's going to be a beautiful week in Nashville, a weekend in Nashville. You just got to look at the Titans here and think that they're the better team. And poor Colts, they're a good team, but they just keep facing better and better teams. Give them why can't they play the Jags or the Texans or something?
Yeah, that's what they've not only had tough matchups facing two teams against the NFC West, but then also they were injured so much during training camp and in the preseason, dealing with injuries again during the season, and of course the main suspect, Carson Wentz, dealing with not one but 2 sprained ankles. I think they said one is a high ankle sprain and one is a low ankle sprain.
Yeah.
So he didn't practice on Thursday, but I actually got news a couple hours ago saying that he was out at practice on Friday. So definitely good news for his status to at least be questionable on Sunday, because Friday practice is really the make or break of if you're going to play on Sunday. So he was apparently out there at practice on Friday. Brett Hundley and Jacob Eason were kind of splitting first-team reps in practice while he wasn't out there. So I'm not really sure what to expect from this quarterback room for the Colts. Who's going to be out there, how much they're going to play, how effective they're going to be.
And this is not a great Titans defense. So, but I mean, if Wentz plays and Wentz is healthy, they could definitely struggle a little bit. But if any of these guys play, this can make that Titans defense look just that much better,
Yeah, I don't know which would be a better result for the Colts, having a Wentz that's playing at less than 100% or having a guy like Brett Hundley or Jacob Eason taking snaps out there.
Yeah.
I think either way it's going to be a tough situation for this Colts offense this upcoming week, even against, like you said, a weaker Titans defense.
Yeah, it's going to be an uphill battle, and for the Titans on offense, the name of the game, we saw at the end of last week's game, it's going to be Tractor Cito down their throats all game long.
Yeah, that's what the 3 touchdowns last week. The last time that he faced the Colts, week 12 last season, 27 carries, 178 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So very similar production to what we saw week 2 last week. Derrick Henry will most likely feast again. Ryan Tannehill hoping to get kind of back on track like he was in 2020. Had a couple of rough games to start out this season. So hopefully he can get on track against a Colts defense, like we said, has been facing some tougher teams.
Yeah, fantasy-wise, pretty much stay away from any Colts quarterback. I don't care how desperate you are.
Just don't try any of them, whether Wentz is healthy or not.
Yeah,
start
Jonathan Taylor. You gotta keep him going. Nyheim Hines was looking good in receiving, but I would still be spotty on him.
I would say he's a desperation flex just because they might be trailing in this ballgame. Could get some short down work from a backup QB.
And then Michael Pittman versus Zach Pascal. It kind of seems like one or the other kind of situation. It seems like one of them could have a good game. The other one could have like 2 catches. So
yeah, Pascal's got 3 touchdowns on the year, so that's the only reason I kind of put him on here. But I still wouldn't want to start him. And then Jack Doyle had a decent week last week, but even with the thin tight end core, I wouldn't even start him.
The Colts haven't been very tight endy in their offense. I like that. That's gonna be my word, tight endy. Because some teams in their offense they use their tight end more, and they haven't been so far this season.
Add that to the fantasy football dictionary.
Yeah, tight endy. And Titans are very not tight endy either.
Yeah, no, they've had Ferkser injured. I don't even know if he's gonna play this week, but in terms of their other options, Tannehill, I would say, is a fringe start, just hoping that he can get back on track this week. And then, of course, you're going to start all the other great skill position guys, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and Julio.
Julio had a better game last week than week 1. Could we see a decent game from him second week in a row? I don't know. I like to believe that he could do good.
A.J. Brown did have a down week last week. He's been battling his offseason knee injuries. during the first couple weeks of the season hasn't been practicing too much, but I think definitely one, if not both of them, should have a good game this upcoming week.
Derrick Henry, though, is definitely probably, out of all these guys, is the biggest start.
Yeah, and we both got the Titans in this game, I'm assuming just because of the Colts quarterback situation, and then the Titans coming off of a great victory.
Titans at home, too. All signs are pointing towards them. All right, moving on to a very, very interesting game. Usually we save the Falcons game for last, but let's change it up this week.
See if maybe that's the key to their success.
That changes the mojo. Falcons taking on the Giants in
Someone's
the Meadowlands.
Someone's getting their first win of the season.
Well, no, because, in the NFL now, teams can tie, so we could see...
Yeah, true. This is probably the biggest tie watch game of the week.
But this is also a very winnable game for both teams, which is funny because it's like, the Falcons, this is their most winnable game at the beginning of this so far in the season.
I was going to say, until you face the Jets and Jaguars later on in the season.
Yeah, and then the Giants, who... I guess the Giants have had winnable games. They could have beat Washington, and they played the Broncos not terribly.
They should have beaten Washington last Thursday night, but
0-2 versus two bad teams, or not as good teams,
Yeah, so for the Giants, is this Saquon's get-right game, of course, facing a weaker Falcons defense. So Saquon, we saw the 41-yard rush on Thursday night, not much else for him, but it seems like the workload is starting to ramp up week by week, so maybe we'll see a full workload and maybe he can break free for a long touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, Falcons defense has actually played running backs fantasy-wise very well. It's always been these receivers that have killed us.
Yeah, I mean, whatever combination of Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette didn't do much last week.
Yeah, it was Mike Evans and those guys who was causing all the problems. So, Saquon, I think, will have a better game, especially against a weaker overall defense, but I don't think he's going to have that 2-touchdown, 120-yard game that people are like hoping that's going to be his quintessential get-right game.
Well, now not only his legs that the Falcons got to worry about, but Daniel Jones as well, as he had almost 100 yards rushing last week.
They will be doing a run. They will be running that RPO-style offense, and Daniel Jones is a weapon. I actually picked him up personally. I hate to do it against my Falcons.
He's the QB5 overall in fantasy right now.
I know, he is the fifth ranked. I saw his rankings, and I was like, he's available?
It's wait a second, that's got to be a typo. Like, it should be 25, right?
Yeah, exactly, 35 even. So, that's going to be their offense. Evan Ingram looking to come back from his calf injury. We saw the Falcons struggle against Gronk at tight end. I think Ingram is a few steps down from Gronk.
Yeah, Ingram hasn't really had much success since really his rookie season, so especially in his first week back, if he does play this week, I wouldn't expect much from him on a fantasy side of things. On the Falcons side, really the only injury to talk about, Russell Gage battling an ankle injury. They actually ruled him out a couple minutes ago, so Zacchaeus will probably step into that wide receiver 2 role now.
Yeah. Calvin Ridley and
wide receiver 3 will consider Pitts as the wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I would say we'll probably be using Pitts and Cordell Patterson. Come on, you can't forget Patterson.
I also saw something from a Falcons beat writer saying that it's probably going to be a 60-40 split between Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson. Patterson having the great week last week, 2 touchdowns on the day, so earning himself a little more playing time.
Play the hot hand, So, I mean, Falcons, the Giants defense isn't that good either, so it's kind of like, these are just 2 bad games. This is going to be that 1 o'clock game that, is going to be on
Won't
Red Zone.
Won't be shown too much on Red Zone.
Yeah, randomly shown. I don't think this is going to be a defensive battle. I think it's going to be, up there. But, they're going to be like, oh, wait, there's a touchdown scored in the game.
I was going to say,
they're going to forget about
They might be forced to show it on Red Zone just because both these defenses are bad, so the teams are hopefully going to be scoring touchdowns.
But, yeah, they'll be showing more important games, and then they'll be like, oh, yeah, and then this happened, 5 minutes ago in the Falcons game. We'll be getting the updates on our phones.
So, looking fantasy-wise for the Falcons, Matt Ryan, I'd say he's a fringe start. I mean, he got some decent stats in mop-up duty.
But he's just been ineffective, in his first 2 games.
Yeah, those 2 interceptions late in the fourth quarter against the Bucs.
A lot of people picking up Cordero Patterson this week, obviously coming off a 2-touchdown performance. Could kind of be a Swiss Army knife kind of guy for your flex if you're interested in that.
Yeah, I'd say Mike Davis and Patterson are both kind of flex plays, maybe deeper dive flex plays, just because you don't really know which one could get the touchdown. Both are kind of more receiving back, so could get that PPR type points. And then receiving-wise, Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts start both of those guys. They should both feast against the Giants' defense. You saw a good week from Pitts and Ridley last week.
Yeah, and then Giants-wise, Danny Dimes, I have him going over T-Law because I think he's going to be better.
I think that's a good move for you. Sad to say, but I think that's a good move for you.
Still stick with Saquon. I know it's like patience, I think, will pay off. You won't get that game, but you'll get a better game. Sterling Shepard has been doing better.
He's been pretty much Daniel Jones' favorite target. He's had 2 great games to start the season, so I think he's worthy of a starter, at least a flex play.
Yeah, and then Falcons secondary, I was gonna say, is not like there's been some injuries. AJ Terrell dealing with a concussion, so receiving wise, there could be some options.
Yeah, I think even Darius Slayton or Kenny Golladay are both worthy of a flex consideration as well. Just hoping that they can get a touchdown in this ball game against the Swiss cheese secondary.
You know who I want to bring up real quickly?
Yeah, what's up?
Kadarius Toney.
Oh man, -2 yards receiving on the season.
I know, that guy's...
Everybody making the jokes how it's like, oh, everyone watching this game has more receiving yards than Kadarius Toney has.
That guy's had... I was kind of reading about it earlier this week. He showed up to practice in the summer with 1 shoe.
Did he...
He practiced with a single shoe.
Okay.
He also had a COVID scare, injury problems. This guy is not a great start to his NFL career.
I was going to say that a lot of headlines that you don't want to start out your NFL career, but what a matchup to get right in than facing the Atlanta Falcons Swiss cheese secondary.
Yeah, we both have the Giants going. I think Roach is picking the Giants based off numbers, and I'm picking the Giants based off... It's kind of a win-win for me because if the Giants win, then I won. I helps my record. But if the Falcons win, it's like I'm not super upset about that.
I was going to say, it's a loss that you wouldn't be too mad about. And we picked the same team, so it doesn't really hurt you head-to-head wise.
Exactly. All right, moving on to a weird kind of interdivision or cross-divisional matchup between the Washington football team and the Bills, both at 1-1.
Yeah, the Bills actually a 7.5 point favorite in this one, which I thought was
that's a big spread,
a wide margin. But Taylor Heinicke making his second start of the season for the Washington football team, of course, getting that win against the Giants, like we just talked about. Going to face a much tougher defense though this upcoming week, and the Bills defense coming off the shutout victory against the Miami Dolphins. So we'll see how he'll play this upcoming week against a much tougher opponent.
Yeah, this is a fired up Bills team coming in, with Washington coming into town. And we all know how the Bills fans welcome, out-of-town folks with the Washington football team. This could be rough for them because Washington. I don't think is a bad team, but I think the Bills are kind of getting their stride, especially after last week.
Yeah, that's what Josh Allen. The first 2 games have been very un-Josh Allen-like. Just a 56% completion percentage, only averaging 225 passing yards a game.
Last game he didn't have to work too hard.
Yeah, so of course didn't really have to throw the ball too much. Just 3 touchdowns and 1 interception on the season. Doesn't have a rushing touchdown yet. I saw something where he's only completed like 33% of his passes in the range of like 10 to 25 yards, which was really his key to success last year and why he was MVP candidate. So trying to get back on track after kind of a rusty start to the season.
Yeah, and this would be a team to do it. I know they have a tough defense, but this will be a game that they'll have to grind it out and work hard to really get those numbers. I don't think he'll struggle as much as he did.
And the Washington football team defense has given up a lot of points.
Yeah, they haven't been
as
as good as advertised. I mean, they're getting in the backfield a lot, but secondary wise, I think that's kind of a weakness for them. And then for the Washington offense, we already talked about Heinicke, but Antonio Booby Gibson dealing with an injury, but is going to be good to go.
Yeah, he's been dealing with a shoulder problem, had some limited practice, I think missed a practice, but Ron Rivera said he's going to be good to go this upcoming week, but like I said, does have a tough matchup. But looking at fantasy-wise, I would sit Heinicke in this one, just facing off against his Bills defense. Haven't seen him face some good competition yet, so I would sit him.
He's kind of a maverick, it's like you don't know what you're going to get. I would start Antonio Gibson, even with that little bit of an injury. J.D. McKissick was kind of, he was pretty good in backup duty.
Yeah, I mean, facing the Giants defense after a rough first week, really responded in week 2. I would give him maybe some flex consideration. I think you could do worse in that spot. You just have to hope that he gets that PPR work. Yeah. And then receivers-wise, you're going to start McLaurin. You're going to start Logan Thomas.
Scary Terry and Logan. Bills-wise, pretty much that Allen Diggs connection has been working. Beasley maybe in a flex and the slots if you're really desperate.
Yeah, he had a down week last week.
Running back-wise is really interesting because Moss and Singletary kind of one of them gets the touchdowns, the other one gets the rushing yards.
Yeah,
so.
Moss had 2 touchdowns last week. Singletary had a long touchdown as well. I trust in Singletary more, especially in PPR leagues, because he's the receiving back. So I would flex him, sit Moss, and then I would start the Bills defense against Washington.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next game in our 1 o'clock window. We got a battle of 1-1 teams, the Chicago Bears and the Cleveland Browns. Justin Fields making his first career start. Andy Dalton dealing with a knee injury.
Yeah, I mean, Fields coming in, finally got the start. We're looking forward to that, to seeing him. And I honestly think it's going to be an uphill battle against a better Browns team overall.
He didn't look great in his relief effort against the Bengals last week. Cleveland does have a tough defense, but if you're looking in terms, Tyrod Taylor, before he went out with his injury, kind of similar style of play. He had a good game until he got injured, so could see some success from Justin Fields. I think especially he's going to be a weapon with his legs.
And they've been, practicing all week with him as one, so that's going to definitely help.
The one thing that I'm worried about, Stein, is that Matt Nagy is just going to draw up plays to make him look bad, so it makes him look
hedge his Andy Dalton bet.
It makes him look smart for saying, because he came out and said that when Andy Dalton's healthy, he's going to be the starter. So it'll just make him look smarter and say, oh, like Justin Fields obviously isn't ready for this moment. That's why we've had Andy Dalton starting.
I know. I'm trying to think. He's kind of just doing this to keep appearances with Andy Dalton. It's like everyone knows that Justin Fields is the future of this team, and Andy Dalton's just there to, why the hell did they even make the move?
If they're not going to use him, and I still think Matt Nagy is going to be the first head coach fired this season.
Yeah, his seat is definitely getting hot, and there's a few other coaches that we'll talk about, but his butt is definitely on the hot seat. Especially now that the Jets have a new coach.
Oh God, yeah. So on the other side of the football, we got Jarvis Landry going on IR with that knee injury, but OBJ is actually looking like he's going to play on Sunday.
News came down today. It's kind of been back and forth all week. Literally, that's the one sleeper notification. I don't even have OBJ, and I'm not even going against him. So
they've been very ominous with it. Like OBJ earlier in the week said we'll see for playing on Sunday. Then I saw something early this morning.
Looks forward to playing.
Where it was barring any setbacks, he'll be out there on Sunday, and then it said that he's going to play on Sunday. So not 100% sure what to expect from Beckham as he's recovering from that ACL injury.
Yeah.
He is really the only big wide receiver of note since Landry went down, but not really sure what to expect from him, if he's going to be on some sort of snap count or something like that. So fantasy-wise, if you've got him, I think it's going to be a very risky play if you end up going with him.
Yeah, especially coming from a Bears defense that last weekend was just destroying it. I mean, they're going against a lot tougher offensive line. With the Browns compared to the Bengals offensive line. That's kind of a night and day difference.
Yeah, they're two polar opposites.
Yeah, so, they're not going to be getting as after it, but they could be patrolling that secondary and really, locking down OBJ, because he's going to be pretty much the only weapon that he's got.
Yeah, I think
Baker has to throw to.
I was going to say, I think Baker, of course, they're going to be using Chubb and Kareem Hunt, their run-first offense, but I think Baker will definitely be relying more on the tight ends when you talk about Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant, David Njoku.
Yeah, so those guys, and then, who has been, emerged as the new number 2 for the Browns?
It's really been Schwartz, the rookie, has been more of a number 2. That Donovan Peoples-Jones is really hyped up in camp, but we haven't really seen much from him. Rashard Higgins had a couple of decent games last season, but I don't think he's had much production either. So I would say if you're looking at a true wide receiver, it's probably Schwartz has been the wide receiver.
Honestly, though, even with a healthy OBJ, I feel like they're still going to keep him limited. They're not going to give him 20 targets or something right off the bat. So just overall, just stay away from receivers from them.
Yeah, so looking at fantasy-wise, when you're talking about those receivers, I'd put OBJ as probably a risk flex play. If you have some injuries to some of these other guys, then maybe put him out there. But in terms of pass catchers, I would stream Hooper just because I think we'll get more volume with the injuries to receiver.
Yeah.
But other than that, you're going to start Chubb, you're going to start Hunt.
Start
the Browns defense against the Bears and Justin Fields making his first start.
Yeah.
And I would sit Baker Mayfield because he really hasn't done much in either game this season. I think he's only got 1 touchdown pass so far.
And he's kind of lacking on the lacking weapons really around him. Bears wise, like we said, that you kind of would. I'd still stick with the Bears defense even though they're going against Chunt. I still think that they'll get you some, maybe 1 or 2 sacks, but they could have a pick or something like that. Fields is going to be interesting.
Like I said, I think he's got value there just because of his rushing ability. If he can get you a rushing touchdown, then that would be big. But in terms of fantasy-wise, if you're not in a super flex, I wouldn't play him. DFS, I think he's interesting because he'll be super cheap out there.
He could be one of the cheapest quarterbacks.
In just like a standard one quarterback league, I would stay away from him.
In a redraft, this guy he could have an amazing game and he could be one of the top quarterbacks on waivers. But I'm sure everyone has like a better quarterback than him, especially with all the uncertainty going into the season. David Montgomery is just been doing David Montgomery things.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, he just eats up all the volume in terms of that backfield. So you're going to start him and then start Allen Robinson as well. Even having a down week last week, he saved it with a touchdown, but he's the number one option out there. So I would start him.
We could also see Fields really develop with maybe Mooney or somebody because a lot of times a quarterback will have like a favorite receiver, and so it could be any one of those.
It's usually
guys.
A second or third guy because they're used to practicing with second and third team offenses. Yeah. So you definitely could see one of those other receivers.
But stay away from till we know better. Who's going to be good with them.
Yeah, and we're both going with the Browns in this one. I think just the Browns offense is too much compared to the Bears offense. Justin Fields making his first start against a tough defense.
Yeah, and it's in Cleveland too, so that's just. Not going to be a great place for Justin Fields to get his first start. Not a very friendly environment. Yeah. And I've heard the weather's supposed to be pretty crappy too.
Oh,
so.
Man. Good luck in that one.
Yep.
So let's move on to the next game, which should be a pretty quick and easy victory for the Baltimore Ravens, 1-1 on the season.
We say that, but they've been pretty volatile this season.
Coming off the big victory on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs, they're facing the winless Detroit Lions coming off that Monday Night Football defeat to the Green Bay Packers. And Lamar, once again in headlines, dealing with a stomach bug, apparently non-COVID related. He's had COVID twice.
I know, but he's also had this stomach cramp, going into the locker room from last year.
The infamous video.
Could we just say he has to shit? Is that too much to say?
But he was dealing with a stomach bug this past week. Apparently also has a sore hip. I saw the sore hip could have been from him doing the flip into the end zone from the rushing touchdown. But he was back out of practice today on Friday, so expect him to be out there on Sunday.
Yeah, Tyrell Williams was dealing with concussion, placed on the IR for the Lions.
Which you always hate to see if someone's placed on IR with a concussion, just the long-term effects of that.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue for them. So that's pretty much their only receiving weapon. I mean, Swift is a receiver, but
Quintez Cephas was their leading guy last week on Monday night, so expect him to be kind of the wide receiver one. Yeah. But going into fantasy-wise, I would stay away from most of the receivers. Cephas is maybe like a desperation flex play at best. You're going to start TJ Hawkinson, of course. He's been the favorite target of Jared Goff. You'll start Swift, flex Jamal Williams, get that PPR work, but you're going to sit Jared Goff in this one against the Ravens defense.
Yeah, and then Ravens offense, you're going to want to keep Lamar going. He'll probably be good, get some good runs. Tyson Williams, pretty much the running back one now.
Yeah, I just wish that they would give him more work. I know that they're worried about the injuries to the running back. They don't want to give a guy that hasn't had many carries a full workload, but he's shown that he's been the best running back for them this season. Yeah. So
Hollywood Brown has also really had 2 really good first games, so he's going to be a guy to really look for. His value is really high right now. Mm-hmm. I might think about moving him a little bit.
Get that sell high.
And then Mark Andrews doing, what he does, and
a little disappointing, but just in terms of the value that you got him at,
you probably
don't
he's
have
a top 10 tight end.
Another option off the bench, and then start the Ravens defense in this one against the Lions. I mean, that's a pretty easy play.
Yeah, this spread should be a little bit more. I mean, the Ravens are just hot, and that's why we both picked the Ravens, and the Lions are just a bad team. This is, this one could be ugly quickly.
Yeah, the Ravens an 8.5 favorite right now, even on the road. So look for them to get an easy victory this week. Moving on to our next matchup between AFC West opponents, both 1-1 on the season. The Los Angeles Chargers facing the Kansas City Chiefs.
Roach, I'll go ahead and say that this was one of the games, because right now we've been we picked the same teams. Mm-hmm. This is one of them. I thought you could make an argument for the Chargers.
You wavered a little bit on it?
I was a little bit hesitant. But
you know the funny thing about this, Stein, is this is a battle of the last place teams in the AFC West right now. Because you got the undefeated Raiders and the undefeated Broncos.
That's weird. But
both teams coming off of tough losses.
Yeah, loser of this
week.
game will move down to last place officially in the AFC West. But...
Yeah, we mentioned the Chiefs losing the tough one to the Ravens, the Chargers losing on a last-second field goal from Greg Zuerlein, and the Cowboys last week. So both teams looking to get back on track.
Yeah. Honestly, obviously the Chiefs are far and away the better team. They're favored by 7, points right now.
Playing at home.
Yeah, that's got to help at Arrowhead.
But Herbert played. I remember last week. It was Herbert's either first start or one of his first starts he had to face against the Chiefs, and he played them very well. I think they kicked the last-second field goal, and I think they went to overtime if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, I'm sure the Chargers all week have been saying that everyone's doubting them, that they're not going to be able to win this game against the mighty Chiefs. But unfortunately, the Chiefs are mad. They are coming off a game they should have won. Mm-hmm. They were in control of, and I think they're going to try to kick the Chargers' ass.
Yeah, look for this to be a high-scoring affair as two very high-powered offenses, even though Justin Herbert has kind of gotten off to a slow start.
Yeah.
Fantasy-wise, for the Chargers, I would still start Herbert even with a slower start.
This is a start-everyone kind of game, honestly.
Yeah, you're starting Austin Eckler, start Keenan Allen. Mike Williams has looked great these first 2 games. You're starting him. Even Jared Cook at the tight end position, I would give him a start.
Sure, why not? The only person we might be weary on is Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, of course, having that big fumble late last week. I kind of downgraded him down to a flex play instead of a starting running back position, but just because he's still the number 1 for the Chiefs in this high-powered offense, you just gotta hope he gets a touchdown in this contest. But otherwise, Mahomes, Tyreek, Kelsey, start all those guys. Even though the Pringle and Hardman had decent weeks last week, Tyreek Hill had a very down game, so expect him to rebound, and I don't think those other 2 wide receivers will really do much in this ball game. Yeah,
this is going to be a high-scoring affair, probably. This is going to be back and forth, but I think this is one of those games where the Chiefs will take halftime lead and never, won't give it up.
Yeah.
So that's why we both got the Chiefs going.
Yeah, going to the next matchup, going from a high-scoring affair to one I think is going to be a very defensive battle, and then once again a game between 1-1 teams, the Saints traveling to the Patriots.
Can I pick the meteor in this one?
Yeah, two of Stein's least favorite teams.
I'm not that much of a Pater hater. I was going to say Patriots
Pat hater.
Pat hater. I was trying to find a way where that would work. A Pater hater. I'm not as much of a Patriots hater as I used to be now that they don't have Brady. So in that case, I do like the Patriots in this game. I'll go ahead and give my pick. Mm-hmm. But let's talk a little bit about this game. You think it's going to be defensive?
Yeah, you have the Saints offense who they put up 38 week 1, then they only put up 7 in week 2 against the Panthers. The Patriots offense who got 25 against the Jets, but 4 field goals in the ball game, and then 17 points in their first game against the Dolphins, 16 points
Not
in their first game against the Dolphins.
Not a very strong offense from the Pats offense. Mac has looked good thus far.
Just a very safe offense so far. You don't know if Bill's maybe been handcuffing the playbook from him, and eventually we'll let him open it up later on in the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really sure. I think this will be a very low-scoring defensive battle game. You just don't know which Saints team you're really going to get. Are you going to get the 5-touchdown Jameis or the 2-pick Jameis?
Yeah, and then this is a defense that coming off of 4 picks, so they're hungry and they want to get the ball, and we know they can. So are we going to see Jameis, throw 4 or 5 picks in this game? Honestly,
yeah. So I don't know. I picked the Panthers last week. No one had the Saints week 1 against the Packers.
Yeah, no.
Most people had the Saints last week because they played so well week 1. I picked the Panthers. The Panthers ended up winning that game. I don't know, Stein. I feel like this is once again one of those trap games for the Saints that I feel like they're just going to be very impressive this week against Belichick. I've got the Saints winning this ball game. I don't know. I think it's going to be a very weird game.
This is a good battle of minds. I'm not going to say good coach. I'm not going to say good people. Well, I like Belichick as a person, but I don't like Sean Payton as a person. But 2 really good football minds going against each other. I think this is going to be a coaches playing chess kind of game.
Oh, definitely.
And by that accounts, you got to take Belichick over Sean Payton. I just think this game is going to come down to the Pats defense playing as good as they have, where their offense is going to have to play as game manager. And I think they're going to shut down the Saints offense, which honestly, it's like you said, like we don't know what we're gonna get.
I said this very much could go in the Patriots' favor if you get the Jameis that's just wild and throwing the ball over the place, and he ends up throwing 4 picks like Zach Wilson did last week. But if you end up getting a good Jameis who throws to his receivers instead of to the other team,
we also, I mean, and the Saints' defense is not nothing to write home about, but they're also not terrible either.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad gig as well, especially against a weaker Patriots offense. So.
Fantasy outlook, I mean, it's kind of risky on all aspects. I would sit Jameis in this one against the Patriots defense. I would start Alvin Kamara, even though he came off of a bad week last week, and I would start the Saints defense against the Patriots.
I like that Saints D as a start.
I mean, they're probably not going to get many turnovers just because of how safe Mac Jones is, but I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game, so just in points given up and yards allowed, they'll probably get you some points. On the Patriots side, I would sit Mac Jones just because, once again, how safe he is. Not many touchdowns or yardage out there. Start Damian Harris. He's had a couple of good weeks to start off the season. Flex James White, just hoping he'll get the PPR work. Any sort of pass catchers, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers, they're all risky picks just because none of them have really proven that they're like the number one go-to guy so far in this offense.
And Mac's pass volume hasn't been that high. But start this Pats D, even though they got you a lot of points last weekend, because you could have that, like I said, Jameis could throw 3 or 4 picks.
Yeah, and potentially a pick 6 as well. So that is the first game that we've got different. Stein has the Patriots. I've got the Saints. I'll probably end up regretting it in our recap show.
I just picked the Pats because I think the defense is playing better than the Saints offense. But
let's move on to our next matchup. Once again, more 1-1 teams, a divisional battle between the Bengals and the Steelers. A lot of injuries to talk about from this game, Stein. Starting out on the Panthers. Starting out on the Bengals side, the other cat.
Yeah, some cats.
We
already talked about the Lions.
T. Higgins is doubtful in this ball game right now. So they said he's on pace to sit this week, dealing with a shoulder injury, missed practice on Wednesday, missed on Thursday. Today they ruled that he's probably doubtful for this game. So definitely a downgrade for Joe Burrow, but an upgrade in terms of fantasy for the other pass catchers and Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I mean, Boyd had a good game last weekend. Chase had
another touchdown.
Yeah, not a bad game at all. So those guys are going to be some really good starts of this week. And you have a Steelers team that's also dealing with a lot of injuries.
Banged up all over the place. You got Big Ben dealing with a pec injury. He was limited on Thursday. He said it was painful when he's throwing the ball. So you got him dealing with that.
39-year-old saying it's painful to throw a ball is not a good sign.
You got Deontay Johnson dealing with a knee injury. He didn't practice on Friday. Of course, he had that on the last play of the game, got hurt. TJ Watt dealing with the groin injury. He has a chance to play.
I was say I've heard some. I don't know what I've seen out of TJ Watt. I've heard maybe even IR potential.
Yeah, that's what. Like I said, the groin injury, any sort of muscle thing, is always tough to deal with. So. I would say he's on the wrong side of questionable for this game, which is a huge downgrade to this Pittsburgh defense.
Yeah.
But just all sorts of injuries, and you're going to want to pay attention to the injury report when it comes out on Sunday.
Yeah. But otherwise, for the Steelers, offense definitely played better last weekend, and Najee Harris definitely looked more productive. And I think this is going to be his kind of chance to really have his statement game to start out. I do think the Bengals will be throwing it a bunch, especially to their 2 guys. Not wild on Mixon, especially because I think the Steelers have a better run defense than pass.
I feel like you got to start Mixon just because he gets all that running back work.
I mean, he's one of the guys that you probably drafted in the 1st or 2nd round, so you'll keep him going, but. I'm not wild about him. I've never been wild about him, but just
that's why you traded him, right?
Exactly. So. Well, he hit a woman. That's just that's inexcusable to me.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah,
one.
Why should I give him a start?
That's a good point. So.
Yeah, let's talk about fantasy starters. Pretty much sit both quarterbacks.
Yeah, I wouldn't start Burrow or Big Ben in this game. Just Burrow coming off the rough game last week. Big Ben kind of banged up a little bit.
I definitely feel better about Burrow than Big Ben, though. If you had to make a choice, between those two.
Yeah, I could say it. Especially if TJ Watt's not playing, then I would say maybe a little more confident in Burrow. But just sit both of them. Start Mixon, start Najee, both the running backs. In terms of wide receivers, you're gonna flex Chase and Boyd, Juju, and Claypool just because both wide receiver ones are dealing with injuries right now, so you're especially going to start those guys if Higgins and Deontay Johnson are both out.
Yeah, those are going to be some guys that are going to eat up some catches, and that'll be, good for them. Roach, we differ again on this one. You have the Bengals, I have the Steelers. Give like a 3-second synopsis why you have the Bengals, and I'll give a 3-second synopsis why I have the Steelers.
Well, I've got the Bengals just because of the Pittsburgh injuries, offense and defense.
All right, that was quick. I got the Steelers because I think their defense overall is tougher than the Bengals offense.
All right, so that's our second game that we've got different. Moving on, and the last game in the 1 o'clock window, the undefeated Cardinals will probably move to 3-0 in the season.
What a weird matchup. Two teams going in different directions.
Yeah, facing the 0-2 Jaguars, and it should be a cakewalk for the Cardinals.
Let's not say that.
The Jaguars will surprise. This will be Trevor Lawrence's big game. And
Trevor Lawrence's 4 touchdowns, 35-0 kind of game. Roach, I feel like you and I are both kind of quietly becoming bandwagon Cardinals fans.
They've been so exciting to watch. I've got Kyler in one of my fantasy leagues.
I feel like you and I both low-key are like Cardinals fans, so let's not jinx them. But honestly, this is a game. I know it's in Jacksonville. Is this Jacksonville's second home game?
They were home last week as well.
With New Orleans, it kind of messed me up.
Mm-hmm.
But Cardinals going on the road, going across the country.
DeAndre Hopkins is dealing with a rib injury.
Yeah, that news came out today.
They said he's actually going to be questionable for this game. Kind of had a quieter game for his standards last week, even though he still had a touchdown in the ball game. The good thing is the Cardinals, it seemed like they've got 3 other great receivers behind him in Kirk Green and Rondale Moore. So even if he is missing this week, this is probably the week to miss against the Jaguars team.
Yeah, the name of this game is gonna be Kyler running around through this Jaguars defense, which is not very good at all, and this is gonna be fun for him.
Yeah, on the Jaguars side, they are working out tight ends right now. James O'Shaughnessy on IR, so Trey Burton apparently got a workout for the Jaguars. So, well, he's not on a team right now.
Yeah, he's still trying to get. I feel bad for him because one time was really good, but.
Mm-hmm. Laviska Shenault dealing with a shoulder injury last week. He's practicing in full, should be out there on Sunday. And then an interesting stat from Trevor Lawrence's first 2 games. He's leading the league with 36% of his passes being uncatchable. So in terms of accuracy, this whole Jaguars offense has just been very dysfunctional, but he hasn't been on target on a lot of his throws.
Was Travis Etienne really the single bolt that kept this Jaguars machine together, and as soon as it took it out, the whole thing it's like a bike, just collapsed?
Hey, maybe if you take Urban Meyer out of the conversation when he goes and takes that USC job.
Honestly, Urban Meyer has been getting the most hate, and it couldn't happen to douchier guy, so a lot of us are here for it. But yeah, he's just not looking good, and this could be a 0-3 start. There could be calls for changes and heads, soon.
Yeah, definitely. Fantasy-wise, it's going to be 2 polar opposites. The Cardinals, you're starting Kyler, start Chase Edmonds, start Hopkins if he's out there. The Cardinals defense, start them as well.
Yeah.
Flex
watch,
AJ...
this is, like I said, this is Trevor's coming out game.
Flex any of those wide receivers, Green, Moore, even Kirk, especially if Hopkins isn't out there, then those guys end up becoming starting options even. For the Jaguars, sit Trevor, flex James Robinson, Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones had a great week last week. Chark and Shenault, I think, are both risky flex options. Maybe they can get some garbage time points, but stay away from a lot of these guys on the Jaguars offense.
Yeah, we gotta wait. We gotta wait and see on Trevor. Because we all think he's gonna be good eventually, but he's just some time. He's just having some problems, and it could just be the coaching.
I was gonna say just everyone around him, but we both got the Cardinals winning this one easily.
Easy Cardinals. This will be a fun game to see what Kyler can do.
So one cakewalk to another as we go into our 4:05 slate. We got the 0-2 Jets facing the 2-0 Broncos.
How does this game get 4? I know it's in Denver, that's why it's a 4 o'clock start. But it's how is this game 4 o'clock start?
Yeah, the Broncos a 10.5 point favorite.
That's kind of big for the Broncos aren't that good.
But, the Jets are really bad, not good. Yeah. So the Broncos do lose 2 big linebackers on their defense. Bradley Chubb aggravated his ankle injury. He's on IR, 6 to 8 week recovery, so that's a big loss. And then another linebacker, Josie Jewell, pec injury. He's out for the season.
I hate that for their defense. That's Chubb is kind of like their new guy to replace Miller, who's getting up there. and Josie Jewell's just a sure tackler. And the fact he's out for the season, that's the big hole. But you are facing the Jets, so it's not a bad time for a backup linebacker to get some reps.
Zach Wilson looking to rebound from that 4 INT performance. Hoping to have Jamison Crowder out there. He's listed as a game-time decision, still coming back from that groin injury. So if he's not out there, then Zach Wilson once again down, probably a number one target on this team. Yeah. Braxton Berrios getting more work as he's been like the leading receiver, sadly.
This is going to be that game where, where all the excitement from the 1 o'clock games are over, and this is like, oh, this game's on?
Yeah, you show this kickoff, it's like, we got to transfer from like the ending of all these like great close matchups too.
And this will be like prime nap time. You know?
Yeah, definitely get in like a 30-minute nap till those 4:25 games come on.
Yeah.
But fantasy-wise, desperation flex for Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, especially if Crowder's inactive. If Crowder's active, don't even think about Berrios, but honestly, Berrios is like, if
he's their
all
leading
your
receiver.
wide receivers are injured.
He is their leading receiver. We gotta give him that.
I feel like we have to at least mention his name, whether or not what you do with that information is
I know
on
you probably
you.
have a vendetta against him, Roach, because of Miami guy, short little tiny guy,
I really don't care. Kind of a little Hunter Renfrow clone.
Yeah, I know you love those Hunter Renfrow clones. Broncos, I would say it's kind of like a start everyone situation, except for the running backs, because they're kind of like running back by committee right now.
Yeah, I would say flex both of them just because they should get a lot of work, Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. But start Teddy, start Cortland Sutton, who had a great game last week. Noah Fant got a touchdown last week. Tim Patrick, start him as well, even at least a flex play.
Yeah, and like we're still kind of monitoring who they are throwing in at receiver next to Sutton. Because Sutton's still coming off that injury, also with Judy being out, we still haven't seen who's really emerged as that new, target getter for them.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton, of course, had the one good week last week, but I feel like it could be kind of a week-by-week type thing. Maybe KJ Hamler gets involved. Tim Patrick has a big week. I feel like Teddy Bridgewater isn't really the guy to have like a true number one wide receiver, kind of spreads the ball around very well.
Broncos defense, though, that's going to be a good start because you're facing the Jets offense.
Yeah, definitely a great play, even with the linebacker injuries.
Yeah,
so
we both have Broncos in that one.
Yeah, no surprise there.
No need to explain.
Moving on to the other 4:05 game, another one that could be kind of a laugher just because of the injury at the quarterback position. You've got the 1-1 Dolphins facing off against the undefeated Raiders. And like I said, Tua originally was supposed to just be bruised ribs, but after further tests, revealed some fractured ribs. So he is out for the time being, at least week 3, if not longer. Jacoby Brissett, after a terrible relief effort, is getting the start this week.
Who, against a very hot Raiders team in the awesome stadium, Allegiant Stadium. Not a great scenario for the Dolphins with their starter out. It's going to be difficult. This Raiders team is going to be playing inspired. I don't think they're going to be world beaters, this Raiders team, but this one could, even though the spread is 3.5, they could cover that pretty easily.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The Dolphins do get Will Fuller back, practice on Wednesday, so he should play.
Yeah,
but once again, just this whole Dolphins offense just gets a downgrade just with having Jacoby Brissett under center.
Yeah, and also, running back has been running back has been pedestrian and also kind of like a merry-go-round, and the receiving core has definitely been a carousel of
Parker and Waddle have both been okay, but neither one has really proved themselves to be the number one option on this team.
And Gesicki's kind of taken a step back too as well. So
yeah, he had the 0 for week 1. At least had a couple catches last week. On the Raiders side, Carr is supposed to be ready to go on Sunday. He had the ankle injury last week in the victory against the Steelers.
Yeah, we saw them scrambling to get some quarterback help because Mariota was out too. Mm-hmm. But a healthy Carr, is as good as pretty much any quarterback, I could say.
Has been arguably one of the better quarterbacks this season, especially one of the bigger surprises.
He just doesn't get any love from anybody,
Josh Jacobs was in a non-contact jersey on Thursday. It was listed as it did not participate in practice, so he's looking like he'll be on the wrong side of questionable this week, so probably going to be Peyton Barber, Kenyon Drake, the two backs leading the way for the Raiders this upcoming week again.
Yeah, and they're going to have some, Darren Waller is going to be doing what he's going to be, what he does. So that's going to be kind of where their offense is going to start. And the Raiders defense has been playing well, so look for them to really have an enjoyable game against, a Dolphins offense that's really going to be stuck in the mud.
Yeah, so fantasy-wise, Dolphins, you're going to sit Brissett. and then really flex all those other offensive weapons. Gaskin, Waddle, Parker, even Fuller. All of them are risky just with having Brissett under center. Like I said, it just really downgrades all their skill position guys.
Fuller took a week off because of personal reasons, correct?
Yeah, they never came out like what it was.
But he was out for suspension, so I don't think there's really any injury risk there.
Yeah, well, there's always injury risk with Fuller just because of his history and durability, but yeah, it was not injury related. They're not going to have him like a snap count or
anything.
Yeah, so on the Raiders side, stream Derek Carr. I would flex Drake, Ruggs, Renfro, and then you're going to start Waller and even start the Raiders defense in this one.
That could be, the Raiders defense. I might be a little bit weary because of what they've done in the past, but going against not a very good offense, this could be a start.
Yeah, I mean, if you have, when we get into our next game,
next week we got buys, so we're going to have to start.
So we both have the Raiders in this game, but I think the Raiders defense are viable just because you have probably you have both these defenses when we get into our 425 window, which is the undefeated Bucs facing the Los Angeles Rams.
That's true, yeah. So you're going to be having some defenses. This is the America's game of the week, probably.
Oh yeah, you're going to hear it all week long and really all game long. This is going to be
Joe Buck and Aikman, or it's two NFC teams. This is definitely Joe Buck and Aikman territory.
Oh, you're just going to be hearing NFC Championship preview throughout the whole broadcast of this game, and I mean, deservedly so. These are two great teams off to great starts.
That makes me wonder where the Romo and Nance is that going to be Jags Cardinals? Because usually they're not going to do Jets Broncos. Because those are two AFC teams. CBS gets AFC, Fox gets NFC.
I don't know. I haven't seen the TV schedule for this week, but that could be interesting.
But this game is going to be a great matchup between the Bucs and the Rams. Undefeated team. Bucs are favored by 1 point. Something's got to give.
Yeah, that just shows you how close and competitive this game should be. A big loss for the Buccaneers. AB tested positive for COVID. He is vaccinated. The Bucs are 100% vaccinated, but he does. So he needs 2 negative tests within a 24-hour period. They said it's not likely that he'll be able to do that in time just for the turnaround for Sunday.
I don't know why, but I kind of pictured AB as a guy who wouldn't get a vaccine.
Like I said, the Bucs came out and said, I think they were the second team after the Falcons that came out and said that they were 100% vaccinated.
Number one in something.
So, hey, it's the little victories. So he's probably going to be missing, so a huge loss for their offense. JPP, shoulder injury, he's likely out, so a loss for their defense. They've been missing a couple of guys, been dealing with some injuries the first couple weeks.
Some guys in the secondary, especially. Roach, you think that this could be a potential NFC Championship game, and I'm right there with you with how good the Rams have looked, because I haven't been sold on the Rams. So this game for me is going to be like my Rams sell me the Rams. If the Rams win this one, I'll say they're legit. But really, this is going to be their first big challenge, and just all over the place. Just great matchups, individual matchups. So this one could really go either way.
Yeah. So the Rams also dealing with a big injury on the offensive side of football. Darrell Henderson, rib injury, just like a dozen guys this past week. He didn't participate in practice on Wednesday. Sean McVay said that they're going to be smart with him. He's probably going to be a game-time decision. Sony Michel got all the carries for the Rams last week when Henderson got hurt, so he would step up as a running back one. But
what about my boy Funk?
Yeah, Jake Funk will definitely get a little bit of work as well. But Stein, I was very split on this game, and I think a lot of people are just with the 1 point difference. I've got the Rams in this one. I'm just going to keep... they're playing at home. I'm going to ride the high of Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, whether or not Darrell Henderson plays.
The amount of Brady stands that are going to be at this game.
They're all out in California getting to see their boy once a season.
I'll give you that Rams defense, I think, is better than the Bucs defense right now. So that could be a point for the Rams. But when it's all said and done, I think Brady is just going to pick apart, and he's looked the part, as 44 years old.
This will be Brady's first tough test this season on the defensive side, facing the Cowboys and the Falcons defenses weeks 1 and 2.
Yeah, this will definitely be his first real challenge, and this will give us a better kind of look at what he looks like, I guess, like from the outside looking in. And, the fact he's missing AB shouldn't be too big of an issue.
He had a big week 1, but was very quiet last week against the Falcons.
I mean, he's still got weapons all everywhere. So overall, I'm taking the Bucs just because I think this offense is just clicking, and Brady's looking like an MVP at 44 years old.
Yeah, I think this should be a game that comes down to the wire, hopefully. Some sort of game-winning drive, at least potential for one of these two quarterbacks. Fantasy-wise, you're going to start just about everyone. Start Brady, start Mike Evans, start Godwin, start Gronk. I would even flex Fournette, but I would sit Ronald Jones, even though he's the quote-unquote starter since he didn't really get much work last week against the Falcons.
Yeah.
For the Rams, you're going to start Stafford, start Cooper Kupp, start Robert Woods, and then I would stream Henderson or Michelle if Henderson ends up being out. And give Tyler Higbee a look also, even though he had a dud last week.
Yeah, stay away from both defenses because even though they're both good defenses, this could be one of those that's going to get up there because of how good both offenses are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, if you can stream a defense, then definitely do it. But if you don't want to have two defenses, I wouldn't drop either one of these. So just start them just because.
Yeah. All right, Seahawks at the Vikings for the last 425 game. This game kind of is like another one. It's like after that first 425 game, it's like, why is, it's like, oh, this is like the palate cleanser.
I mean, this isn't that bad of a ball game. The Vikings they've had two tough losses this season. The Seahawks could be undefeated this season. They had the big lead against the Titans, and then they lost in overtime. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair, just two great offenses. On the offensive side for the Vikings, Dalvin Cook didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday. He's looking like a game-time call on Sunday. Mike Zimmer, earlier in the week when talking about it, didn't seem too worried about the ankle injury. So as a Dalvin Cook owner, hopefully he'll be out there and ready on Sunday. But have Madison ready in case he doesn't start.
Yeah, Madison could be something you could stash on someone you could stash on your bench, especially if Dalvin's going to be out. But this Seahawks team is playing well, even though they dropped the ball against the Titans. So, this one, I think, is going to be a Seahawks win all through and through, just because I think they're the better team all around. But the Vikings, even though they're 0-2, have had flashes of goodness.
Yeah, this is in Minnesota. I kind of went back and forth on whether or not I want to pick the Vikings or Seahawks. Went with the Seahawks in this one just because of how well their offense has been clicking. I mean, Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, just a great combination this season. I like the Seahawks defense more than I like the Vikings defense, and hopefully they can kind of limit Kirk Cousins and the rest of that offense.
This will be a pretty uniform matchup, purple versus the blue and green.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the combination.
No, I agree with you.
But, I think this one, you could make a case that the Vikings, have had been unlucky the first few times, and Kirk has actually been playing really well.
Yeah, he has. Oh, and hopefully for the Vikings' sake, this doesn't come down to a last-second field goal try.
Yeah,
I don't know if the radio announcer can his heart can take it anymore.
Yeah, for them at home, oh gosh.
So fantasy-wise, the Seahawks are going to start Russ, start Chris Carson, and then the two great wide receivers, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett.
Yep.
On the Vikings side, start Kirk, start Dalvin if he's out there. Like I said, Madison, have him ready if Dalvin isn't a go, then you're going to start Madison. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, both going to be starts as well. And then KJ Osborne, the quiet leading receiver
guy who's emerged as a huge fantasy pickup.
Give him a stream.
Yeah, played well.
Like I said, I mean, there could be worse guys to throw out there in your flex, so if you ended up picking them up off waivers this past week, I mean, like I said, it should be a high-scoring game, so hope that he can get another touchdown in this one.
Yep. All right, the primetime game, we have the Packers versus the 49ers. Throwback to the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. This game, I feel like the 49ers are the most fake 2-0 team out of all the 2-0. Oh, no, the Panthers maybe. And the Raiders.
It's two very confusing teams just because the 49ers dealing with injuries once again, and then the Packers, everyone knows about their 1 week wonder. Week one, just posting the dud and then having a good Monday night game against the Lions last week. Yeah. So for the 49ers, I mean, what running backs are going to be healthy out there? So Sermon with the concussion is probably the most likely to play. He's the one on track to play. Elijah Mitchell missed Wednesday's practice. Very questionable, according to the GM, John Lynch.
I like that. Not even just questionable. Very
questionable. Michael Hasty, I think, has already been ruled out for this ball game. They picked up Jaquez Patrick, former Florida State Seminole, from the Bengals practice squad, former XFL star. So
I don't even remember when Jaquez Patrick played.
It was a couple years back, but he could be the running back one on this team, depending on who's out there. He should at least get some touches because, like I said, I think Sermon should be out there, and then Patrick and Trenton Cannon will be the running backs behind them, but still a downgrade compared to the normal running backs that they have available in this 49ers offense.
This 49ers offense has just nothing that like gets me going, really just all around. it seems like
Brandon Ayuk hasn't done much to start the season. George Kittle hasn't done much.
I guess Debo's been the only one who's been the actual attractive option.
Even Jimmy G, with them being 2-0,
Jimmy G is the most milquetoast. Like he's like the worst best quarterback or the best worst quarterback. You know. Like, I don't even think he's, like, a good quarterback. Like, I think he's in, like, the tier 4 or 5
Should you mention game manager? Like,
I know, but even as a game manager, you're supposed to have a good running back. But the fact that their running back is, like, carousel.
They have a bunch of good running backs, just none of them can stay healthy, so...
Yeah. But their defense the 49ers defense, I will say, is pretty good. And then the Packers side of the ball, first game, awful. Second game, get right. Third game, only build up from here.
I mean, I really don't know what to expect from them. Yes, they had a good game last week, but it is the Detroit Lions, so you do have to take that into consideration.
Yeah,
Packers.
You're not beating the Packers at Lambeau on a Monday night, especially if you're an interdivisional foe.
With Aaron Rodgers coming off of a loss on prime time, so the Packers defense, though, the lowest sack rate through the first 2 weeks. They've been missing Zadarius Smith on that defensive side of the football, so we'll see if some of those backup running backs for the 49ers can work, just missing some of the guys on defense, and then, of course, giving Jimmy G enough time to throw to the different receivers.
Yeah, this is a similar case to the Bears that, like, everyone thinks Lance is going to be the future, and Jimmy G's just kind of taking up space and a roster spot. Yeah, literally taking up a roster spot, and that's why, I was high on Jimmy G when he first went to, but he just hasn't done anything. Like, why does everyone defend the guy? Like, honestly, he's just so average.
I think a lot of people want Trey Lance at this point, but like I said, Jimmy G really hasn't done anything to lose a starting job at this point. But
true.
Fantasy-wise, for the Packers, you're going to start Rodgers, start Aaron Jones coming off the 4-touchdown game, start Devontae Adams, and start Robert Tonyan. For the 49ers, stream Jimmy G. I think he's worth a stream consideration. I mean, some other quarterbacks facing some tough matchups.
I mean, we did see Jameis throw 5 touchdowns against this Packers defense.
Yeah, so I mean, what if Jimmy G does that? Like, and especially with the run game, with having all the injuries, they could rely on him to throw the ball a little bit more. So I think it may not be like a sexy pick, but it could be like one of those things where he ends up producing some fantasy.
I think this is going to backfire on your
I don't have Jimmy G in any sort of league.
Good.
So
you're just like
the
blind leading the blind over here.
Yeah.
Y'all.
So for anyone that actually ends up streaming Jimmy G and plays him and he doesn't do well, then you can blame me for that one.
Handsome dude, great guy, but just not a good quarterback in my opinion.
So the running backs I think are worthy of flex consideration just because it's a Kyle Shanahan offense. Trey Sermon, Jaquiz Patrick, whoever's going to start. Give them a flex consideration. Picking up
Jaquiz Patrick.
I actually picked him up in one league, so but then I ended up dropping him. So start Deebo Samuel, start George Kittle, still sit Brandon Ayuk, still looking to get some production from him. Stein, even with the running back injuries, I got the 49ers in this one. I don't think the Packers are as good as we saw them last week, facing a tough 49ers defense. I think Shanahan will find a way to still have the offense clicking, even with the injuries. I've got 49ers.
All right, you make a good argument, and it's also in Santa Clara, so the Niners have that advantage. But the Packers are just going to ride this momentum, and I just think they have way better playmakers than this 49ers team. So that's what gives me the edge for them. So I got the Packers. This one could be the make or break game for us.
That's the last one that we got different. Of course, it's a standalone game on Sunday night, so we'll definitely be paying attention to that one. Hopefully, it will have some sort of implications for it. But let's hop into the Monday night game, NFC Beast battle. The Philadelphia Eagles 1-1 on the season. Dallas Cowboys also 1-1 on the season.
Second primetime game.
Second of probably like 8.
Yeah. Cowboys are at home, which is interesting. It's their week 3, but their first home game, which I thought was kind of like interesting.
Yeah, I figured the Cowboys got the opening week home game every single year of the season.
God always has to see the Cowboys play on Sunday at home.
But the Cowboys are dealing with the injury to Amari Cooper. Once again, name of the game, rib injury. He did get a limited practice in on Thursday, so with the extra day, it looks like he's going to be good to go Monday night.
Real quick, Roach, we got to invent some kind of rib protection padding.
They have it for quarterbacks. I don't think skill position guys wear them, but
we need to think of a very lightweight mobile rib protection because we'll make a fortune right now.
Yeah.
We'll make a fortune right now.
Yeah, but I think there's some sort of like t-shirt or something, or you can get it that attaches to your shoulder pads where it like wraps around and protects your ribs. But obviously with these big linebackers and DNs and all that, it isn't helping too much for some of these guys. But it looks like he's going to be out there on Sunday. Cedric Wilson is definitely a backup option if you have Amari Cooper, just because Monday night game, there's not going to be many options available fantasy-wise if he ends up not playing.
Yeah.
On the Eagles side of the football, coming off of an ugly loss, 17-11 game to the 49ers, really only notable news for them, Zach Ertz on the COVID list, but he hasn't really done much this season. Dallas Goedert is a tight end one for this team.
Yeah, I think we both like Jalen Hurts, how he's kind of been developing.
Yeah, he's looked well. He was pretty much the one player that looked good in that game against the 49ers. Yeah. He had a great game against the Falcons week 1.
And this Eagles receiving core is starting to develop a little bit, compared to years past with Smith. Smith had a bad game last week, but good first game. And then who was that guy who had the really long catch?
Wes Watkins, I was saying, 91-yard catch.
91-yard catch. So it's starting to come in their own a little bit. But overall, I think this Cowboys playing at home, Dak's first game at home, this is going to be an emotional game because that's where Dak got hurt last year. They're gonna make it as emotional as possible. I like Dak, but the Cowboys, they're going to be like, Dak's coming back for us, y'all. And, so that's why I got the Cowboys.
Yeah, I've got the Cowboys as well in this ballgame. Just a lot of things that you said. I think their offense is much stronger than the Eagles' offense. Pretty two comparable defenses. So the Cowboys at home, first time this season, got them getting a victory.
Yeah, I feel like if this was at Eagles, maybe you could have made an argument for the Eagles. But this is a home game for Dallas, so that gives them, and it's prime time for them. They usually do pretty well against bad opponents on prime time.
So fantasy-wise, the Eagles, you're going to start Hurts, start Miles Sanders, start maybe flex Devontae Smith, still the number one option in terms of the wide receivers, and then start
don't get
Dallas
Watkins.
Goedert.
Don't get Watkins. I just thought maybe they develop.
He's like a poor man's Marquez Valdez-Scantling in terms of like a deep threat. But you're going to start Dallas Goedert as well, especially with Ertz probably not going to play, so he'll get all the tight end volume. Cowboys side, start Dak, start Zeke. Flex Tony Pollard just with a 100-yard game last week, kind of eating into Zeke's work. You're going to start Amari Cooper if he's active, which it looks like he's going to be. And CeeDee Lamb, of course, you're going to start him as well.
Yeah, I'll say I'm a little bit weary on Zeke just because of Pollard's game last week, but I still think Zeke can do some work.
Yeah, and if for whatever reason that Amari Cooper is inactive, look at those tight ends. Look at Cedric Wilson as options to fill in the spot for him because someone's going to need to eat some targets behind CeeDee Lamb. But yeah, so that's going to do it for our week 3 slate. Like I said, once again, we got 4 games different. We both got the win last night on Thursday night, so both 21-12 overall in the season. And hopefully when we come back and talk about the recap of this, we'll be talking about what punishment Stein's going to be doing.
Oof, maybe I kind of hope for the coin toss. I'm an agent of chaos, Roach, so I hope all the chaos happens. What if one of these weeks we just pick every single game wrong? It's just an insane week.
I feel like that would be very impossible. I feel like what would be more likely is one of us goes undefeated than one of us not winning a single.
We should have a side bet. One of us try to pick every game perfect. I mean, we've always tried to pick every game perfectly. Yeah. Okay, we should have a side bet though. Let's see who can go 0-16 for the week. Well, 0 whatever because we have bye weeks coming next week.
Yeah, because you're always going to have the matchups of the Jaguars, Jets facing off against better competition.
That's true.
But anyways, guys, that is our preview for week 3. Enjoy another jam-packed week of college football Saturday and then NFL football on Sunday. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram at @TheCouchQuarterbacks, and we'll see you guys in our recap episode.
Deuces.